are suing their neighbor, cleaning company Vice President Steve Ulrich, for vet bills. The Blocks claim the son of Steve's girlfriend, 12-year-old Dustin Miller, threw their kitten down a flight of stairs.
Mr. and Mrs. Block, who's going to speak for you?
Oh, well.
Okay. Neither one of you were home at the time of this incident with the kitten?
No.
Okay. Who was home?
Both kids, I believe, right? No, my son?
Very good. So why don't you have a seat, the two of you? Step up. Mr. Ulrich, this is not your son. You are his guardian, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You weren't there on the 3rd of October, is that right?
Yes.
You were not there?
I was not there.
Why don't you have a seat? Step up here, young man. What's your first name?
Devin.
Devin?
Yeah.
And yours?
Dustin.
All right, this is the complaint. On behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Block, they had a kitten, and they claim that Dustin purposely injured their kitten, causing the kitten's leg to break, and the kitten had to have leg reset. There were substantial medical bills, and they want the defendant to be responsible for those medical bills, you or his mother. The defendant says that Dustin was merely defending himself from this kitten. So let's see what happened. Devin?
Yes?
I want you to tell me what happened on October 3rd with your kitten. How old, first of all, tell me how old the kitten is.
When it happened?
Yes.
About 4 months.
And Dustin was a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Did he play over at your house often?
Yes.
Okay, did Dustin like the kitten?
Yeah.
So tell me what happened that day.
Well, we were playing video games, and he said he's going to go to the bathroom. And then he comes back, and he says that I didn't really go to the bathroom. I went to go play with the kitten. Well, later that night, she was limping and crying, and you'd touch her leg, she'd cry. And we asked him when he went to go play with the cat if he did something. But he said that she was biting him, and that he just got angry and annoyed, and he tossed her off.
I was playing with the kitten when it bit me, and then
Well, tell me exactly where you were when you were playing with the kitten and it bit you.
I was on the stairs.
What do you mean on the stairs?
Like, the kitten was on the stairs, so I was, like, sitting and petting it.
And the kitten bit you?
Yes.
And what happened after the kitten bit you?
Like, I pulled my hand back to get it off, and it fell off the stairs.
How did it fall off the stairs?
The stairs is not that wide, so when I was sitting down, I was kind of near the edge of this, where the stairwell would be.
Isn't there a railing?
No.
Is there a railing?
No, Your Honor, we removed it after we moved in. I have some pictures.
I'd like to see it.
And there's some pictures of after the pin was removed.
Oh, I see. So there is no railing. Who else was there when he confessed?
My mom and my sister.
Well, I'd like to hear from you. Yes. Tell me about the discussion that you had with Dustin that evening.
Well, at first when we'd asked, because I saw the cat was limping and nobody would say anything, so I kept asking the kids over and over again what had happened. Dustin was kind of nervous, and Devin told me that he had left the room. And then it told me about him playing with the cat. So I said, Dustin, what happened? Just tell us what happened. And then he said that when he was playing with her, that she started to bite him. So at first he said he went like this and just threw her down the stairs. Then I said, well, there had to have been more than that. So I kept asking him. And then he said, well, he went like this over the edge. And he said, so then he threw her that way.
So he didn't say he picked her up and threw her over the side?
No, but...
Okay. I just want to know what he said.
Okay.
You're 12?
Yeah.
And you're 12?
Yeah.
Well, they're certainly old enough to be home alone by themselves. So I can't fault you for not being there to supervise, but I also am not going to make an order that his parents be responsible for the medical bills for your cat. I mean, I don't think that he purposely did anything to hurt your cat. The cat nips because it's a kitten. But again, he's 12 years old. He doesn't have the intellect, you know, of somebody who's an adult. And he wanted to get the cat off. So let's say he took his hand and went like that, and the cat went over on the side as a reflex. There's nothing more than a reflex to get the cat off. You still think that he's responsible to pay for the vet bills for the cat?
Only because the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
Did you ever have any indication that this young man would do anything to hurt an animal?
Well, the fact that he knew she was hurt and went back to play video games like nothing had happened.
Well, that's not a good thing, right? Tell me why you did that.
Well, first of all, I didn't know the cat was hurt.
Just a second. After the cat goes over, whether you went like this to get the cat off you because the cat was biting you, or whether you pushed the cat down the stairs to get the cat off of you, you had to have sat there for a second and watched what happened when the cat got up, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you see the cat limping?
No.
Well, I don't necessarily believe that, Dustin. When you came back inside, did you tell Devin what had happened with the cat?
No.
Why not?
Because I didn't really know. I didn't really think it was like a huge deal, because when the cat fell, it wasn't moving afterwards when I went up, back upstairs.
It wasn't moving?
No, but
Well, weren't you worried if it wasn't moving? Dustin,
it was standing.
do you have an animal at home? You have a dog or a cat?
Bird.
What if your bird was bothering somebody by chirping and the person had a headache and it went over and it rattled the cage really hard and the bird fell to the ground and broke a leg? Would you be angry?
Yes.
Would you think that the person ought to tell you that that's what happened?
Yes.
Do you think that you would have any responsibility? Or that they would have any responsibility?
Like, they would have some responsibility, but we would also have some, because it was our bird that would got on the person's nerves.
The birds do what birds do. Yes. Birds sing. Kittens nip. And if you don't like it when the kitten is nipping, then you don't play with the kitten. But Mrs. Block, I don't think that he did this on purpose. And I don't think that his parents had any indication that he had a predisposition to cruelty to animals, which in my judgment would make them responsible. If you have children in your house and you choose to leave 12-year-olds in your house unsupervised, you're pretty much responsible for what goes on there. So I'm sorry, but your case is dismissed.
Yeah, this is case number 359 on the calendar in the matter of Bruno versus Ross. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You used to be in love, you're not in love anymore. So now we're here, is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So, Mr. Bruno, you say that Miss Ross, who used to be your love, owes you for two things. First, a loan for materials that you purchased to do a deck in her house.
Right.
Deck was falling apart. You're in that business. You said, I'll do a deck. According to you, you said, you pay for the materials, I'll do the labor as a labor of love. And the second loan is for a truck, $2,500, and you say that both of these things, repayment was promised by Miss Ross for both of these things. Miss Ross says, baloney. Miss Ross has some counterclaims. She was at your house one day, according to her, and she fell down a flight of stairs. You were still dating after that.
Yes.
Is that right? But you decided you might as well sue him for that. Now,
Well,
right?
my feeling was that it was ridiculous that it got to this point anyway, so if we were going to...
we were going
If he
to
was
dredge
going-
up old trash, we might as well get all the old trash
Exactly.
up. That's what we are. We are receptacles for trashy lawsuits. Not. Because if you fell down a flight of stairs at his house and you hurt yourself, you should have proceeded against his homeowners at the time. If you chose not to do that, don't bother me with it. The next thing that you're suing him for on the counterclaim, because I'm whittling down this lawsuit. I'm going to get to whittling down yours in a second.
No problem.
Oh, I'm glad you feel that way. The next thing that you're suing him for is you say that he started work on this deck of yours and he left it halfway and you want him to pay to have it finished.
Correct.
Unlikely, but a possibility. Third thing is you say he has some property of yours. Skis, what else?
He has all of my ski equipment.
Do you have her ski equipment?
No, I don't.
Where is it?
To my knowledge, it's in her basement.
You don't have it.
No, I have my daughters and my own.
Doesn't have it. Next.
He has a phone of mine, cordless
What kind of phone?
Cordless phone.
How did he get a cordless phone of yours?
One of his phones was not working properly, and he was, well, we were going to get married, and he was talking about going and getting another phone, and I said, well, let's just put that in your basement. That's
Great, perfect. So you gave him a phone. So what else?
a cookbook and some kitchen utensils.
How
that
did
I
he
took
get
over
those?
there. Was over at his house cooking a lot, and they were left. There were items that I had not taken back home.
That you left there. Items that you left there.
Right. I never thought it would get to this.
It didn't. So with the exception of, I'll let you tell me the story about the deck. Forget about everything else. Okay, Mr. Bruno, tell me about the deck, the materials that you purchased, sir. Tell me where you were with her when you decided that you were going to fix this deck.
I was on my phone. We were discussing it.
Oh, tell me what the discussion was.
It was Mother's Day a couple days before, and she has some puppies that were getting ready to be sold, and she was worried about the safety of people coming to view the deck, or view the puppies, and didn't want them walking on the deck, so she was trying to figure out another route for them to go, and as a Mother's Day gift, I said, well, I'd take care of the deck so that she could have it sold, or not sold, but sell the puppies without worrying about people walking on it.
Great.
Just reimburse me when the puppies are sold, or if you refinance your house. I would charge you no labor. That was my Mother's Day gift. Plus, I took her to dinner.
All right, now let me hear what the phone call was like, Ms. Ross.
He called me the morning of Mother's Day, and he said, I've decided what I want to do for you for Mother's Day. He said, I want to rebuild your deck. And I'm like, well, that's not something that I can afford to do at this point. Well, you know, this is something I want to do for you. You never let me do anything for you. I'm concerned about your safety on the deck. You're going to have people coming over to look at the puppies. Okay. He says, okay, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to pick up the materials, and I'll be over.
Now tell me about the truck.
Oh, I had been looking for a truck. I knew that once I sold the litter of puppies, that I would have the down payment for the truck. And I had been looking at different trucks, and he said, why don't you get that when you like it? And I'm like, no, because I don't have my down payment yet. So I think one truck slipped away from me twice at two different locations. I went and I looked at another truck. He came with me. I liked the truck. He's like, you should just get the truck. I'll just give you the money. He said, your birthday's coming up in September. And
when were the puppies sold?
the last puppy wasn't sold until the first week in August.
What kind of puppies were they?
Labrador retrievers.
How much did you get for the litter?
They sold for different amounts. The highest puppy being sold for $425. The majority of them were sold for $300.
How many puppies were there in the litter?
There ended up being 8.
So there's your $2,500, right? So you'd have had the money for your down payment.
Correct.
When did the two of you break up?
A day before Father's Day.
In June.
Yes, the 15th.
Okay, and when did you give her the $2,500?
May 25th.
So you give him back his $2,500, Miss Ross, because that's the right thing to do. So,
Your Honor?
Yeah.
I have a police report of when he came over to my house demanding back the engagement ring and all of this money that I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll give you the money. He comes in my house, he starts throwing things, so I had to call the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's an exceptionally high bid if she's just going to put it up to code, which in that case would be a handrail.
Then you should have finished it.
I would have loved to.
But you didn't.
And later today,
He only used electrical tape and wired 3 wires together, and it caught on fire.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It's true.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Bruno says ex-fiancée Kathy Ross owes for a truck loan and for the cost to build an outside deck. Kathy says they were both presents.
Did you give him back his ring?
Yes.
Why did he have to come over to your house for the ring?
I have no idea why it even got to that in the first place.
Why don't you tell me, sir?
She wouldn't bring it back over, and when I did show up, she'd tell me, get the hell off her property, or what the hell was I doing there? And I told her I wanted the ring back and the money that I'd loaned her, and then I was out of there. And I didn't throw things, Your Honor. I threw its cell phone, which was mine, and that was all I threw.
All right, you lost your temper. That's not the right thing to do.
No, ma'am,
But
it
he gets
isn't.
his $2,500 back. Let me see pictures of the deck. Okay. Sort of left this job in the middle, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I loaned her the money for the truck, and I didn't have the money to finish the deck.
So what you're saying to me is you loaned her the money for the truck, and because you loaned her the money for the truck, you didn't have enough money for the materials for the rest of the deck.
In part.
You understand where I'm going, Mr. Bruno. That's what the problem is. You're trying to anticipate where I'm going. You took a house that looked okay. Now, it may not have been okay, but it looked okay.
It was an unsafe deck.
And it doesn't look okay now.
It's better than what it was, ma'am.
No, it wasn't. No.
Yes.
No.
People would
This is before,
They stepped through that
and this
deck.
is after. There's no railing. There's no guard railing.
No
Is that
guard.
right?
That's right.
And there's not even a full floor.
Right.
I got it. Can I see the cheapest estimate that you got to finish this deck? I think you say in your counterclaim that it was $1,800. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, this estimate is $1,200 to $1,400.
Right, and there's a big, the other one is for $3,200, and I don't know why the difference in the two is
I
so
don't know
large.
either.
And that's not to restore the deck back to the condition it was in. That's just to put up a hand railing and stairs from
It
the
says to
porch.
bring the deck up to code.
Yes, ma'am, but it's
Okay.
not, I would not be able to use that deck the same way that I was using the other deck. I have no way to get from one part of my yard to the other.
I'm going to take the highest of this estimate, which is $1,200 to $1,400, $1,400, because I think you're responsible for at least giving her some semblance of a deck back in her house.
Well,
You
if
can't
I-
just walk away from a gift. You started this, you have to finish it. And if you're not going to go to her house, and I can understand and finish it, somebody's going to have to. So she owes you $2,500 for the truck. From that, I'm deducting $1,400 for the deck. She owes you $1,100 for the truck.
Your Honor, in regards to that, that's an exceptionally high bid if she's just going to put it up to code, which in that case would be a handrail at $2 a foot.
Then you should have finished it,
I would have loved to.
but you didn't.
have
Judgment
the
for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100, which is the difference between fixing the deck and the $2,500 she owes you for the truck. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She had conflicts with my family and didn't want to deal with it.
I didn't want to be like the rest of the in-laws and feel like I was shoved to the outside of that main core.
I think it was a little unfair because I know she wasn't telling the truth. We had an agreement prior to all this, but judge ruling is judge ruling.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Olshansky versus Longo. Step forward, please.
Administrative assistant Elaine Olshansky is suing former friend, 23-year-old interior decorator Jason Longo, for a refund of his fee and for damage to her home. Jason is countersuing for the unpaid portion of his fee.
Ms. Olshansky, you hired the defendant to do some painting in your house.
Correct.
And paid him some $2,200. It's your claim that he did a lousy job. You want your money back, and not only do you want your money back, you want him to pay you to have some of the work that he did treated by somebody else. So you're suing him for even more than what you paid him. Mr. Longo said that he did a fine job, that you're angry about something else, and he was a friend of one of your children's. Is that right? That's how you knew him?
Correct.
Had he had experience in the painting and decorating business?
I was told he did.
How much work was he supposed to do?
He was supposed to do my dining room, and then we agreed verbally that he would do some extra painting.
Tell me what he was supposed to do, Miss Olshansky. Not just your dining room for $2,200. Come on.
What he did is he painted the dining room, and he painted the trim in the living room, and he had my son help him with...
What other rooms did he paint?
The living room and the hallway. And upstairs in our bathroom, he painted the bathroom vanity.
What work did you do in her house?
Our original agreement was to work on the dining room, which is where I started. As I was working on the dining room...
Okay, what were you supposed to do in the dining room?
The dining room, we were trying to remake the whole thing. She had gorgeous furniture to begin with. We were just removing the wallpaper that was existing.
Okay, so let's start that. You were removing wallpaper.
Yes.
What's next?
We decided on a color scheme for the dining room and a finish that we wanted to do in the lower half. Basically planned out the lighting fixture that we wanted and the colors that were going to be in the room, especially the lower half. We decided to do a faux finish and put a chair rail in the center.
Just a second. Now, then you did living room trim.
Yes, I did, at no charge.
And hall.
I did the crown molding in the hall.
And what about the vanity upstairs?
The vanity was part of our original agreement to do with the dining room. When she approached me about the dining room, she also said she was remodeling both bathrooms upstairs, and she had asked me what we could do with the vanity, and it was a wood, but because of the heat steam damage, it was kind of tarnished, so we decided to paint it, and we used a metallic paint to mimic the border tile that was upstairs.
Your Honor, it wasn't damaged. My upstairs vanity was not damaged. It was in perfect finish because he didn't prime that either. He just painted right over it very nicely.
Yes,
and your original agreement was $2,200, is that right?
Yes, the work also included, though, the solarium room in the back of the house, which what happened was we started doing work in the dining room, and then as I was working in the dining room, Mrs. Olshansky purchased furniture for, I believe it was a living room, but decided that it wasn't going to work out, so we decided to redo their solarium area in the back. That was also included in the price that she paid me, and that was mainly interior decorating. There was no painting done out there. It was just making it into kind of like a cluttered area, into like a nice sitting room with new furniture, accessories, and
So what
such.
did you do in that area?
No painting was done, just accessorizing, purchasing accessories.
That's what you did?
That's correct.
Okay. So that sounds like a reasonable amount of money, $2,200. So what are you complaining about?
The paint is all peeling everywhere he painted. I have many pictures.
Let me see where it's peeling.
Your Honor, I also have pictures of the before work and the during stage process work. I was not allowed to photograph the after work. The plaintiff did not allow me back into her home to do so.
You never asked.
Shh. This is an outside picture, is that right?
No, it isn't. That's the
That's
back
the
porch.
solarium.
Those are the wires hanging where he did wiring, and it caught on fire because he only used electrical tape and wired 3 wires together, and it caught on fire.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It's true.
Your Honor, I have a degree in fire protection technology, and I've been in school and been with the fire service for 6 years. It's not true.
Who did the wiring,
Okay.
Jason?
You have a fire marshal's report?
No. We just
Okay.
unplugged it and put the fire out.
I have no idea where you say the paint is peeling. You show me a nose at the blow-ups.
Your Honor,
This
would
is
you like
here.
to see my pictures?
Yeah. I find it very hard to look at these blow-ups, so don't show me. Don't you have regular pictures?
I use a digital camera, so I have to print them out. The first set of pictures starts with the dining room before. Your Honor, her son also helped me paint. I'd like to see the pictures to make sure that's my work.
Absolutely. Well, whether it's your work or her son's work, it doesn't make any difference. You were the contractor.
Your Honor, I also have estimates.
For what?
To repair the damage that was done.
I'm not going to give you any amount of money to repair damage. I've seen the photographs. If you're not satisfied with the job that he did, I suggest you not give him any recommendation.
The pictures show peeling paint. It's latex painted over oil base, which peels like rubber.
Ma'am, this is the letter from the company that I use.
Put it down. Where was the paint peeling? In what room?
Every room, at every spot, it peels off because it's latex over oil. I have.
What do you mean every room and every spot?
All
I've
of the
seen.
trim.
Look, listen to me.
All the trim
I
work.
saw
just the
these-
trim. Just the trim is painted latex over oil. And I asked him, I questioned him. I said, I don't believe that you can put latex over oil. And he said, you can as long as you prepare properly.
Your Honor, that was her initial concern, and I did acknowledge that that was an issue that we had to take into account. However, I knew that you could paint latex over oil paint. The dining room was sanded down. The other rooms I cannot account for because I came in midway through the whole
Which
situation.
other rooms?
The dining room was the only room I personally painted myself completely.
No, you painted all of the trim in the living room, and you had Peter, without charge, help you get through painting
Right, and
the
I was
hallway.
also without charge helping the hallway and the living room.
You know, charges...
Just a second. Is that true?
If
That
you-
your original estimate was for the dining room and the
Upstairs
vanity.
Correct.
And the other
And the
trim
decorations
that
solarium.
he did either helping you out with your son or whoever else was helping him out. Was it your son who was helping him?
Yes.
And that was as a favor.
No, the work wasn't as a favor.
That's a lie.
He agreed to paint in those rooms also.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
If you're not satisfied, don't give him a recommendation, Miss Olshansky.
Your Honor,
That's all.
what happened was...
That's what? Listen to me. You're not losing.
I understand.
you had some sort of a falling out that involves a social issue, which you seem to suggest here, involving her son, that has absolutely nothing to do with me, that has nothing to do with this case. Ms. Olshansky is complaining about a subjective look at work, which she says is below par. And I'm saying, based on what I see, the rooms, as painted, look just fine to me.
It's just the trim, not the wall.
Well, then get somebody to fix the trim. And what are you suing him for $3,000 for, which is more than even you paid him?
That's what the estimates are.
Get your son to do it. Strip down the trim if you're not happy with it and repaint it in either latex or flat or whatever color you like.
Your Honor, may I say something?
You had practically your whole house done. Don't say anything. You're not losing. What's your problem?
I just want to let her know she had complained about the amount that I had charged her, and she was saying that I basically owed her to do the rest of the rooms and that I owed her to do the repairs based off the amount that that I charged her for. And I have I have documents that show that she has discounts in excess of $2,500 that I had given her because she was a friend of mine. So if she's saying that I overcharged her, it's completely untrue.
Excuse me, just a second. She's not complaining you overcharged her, sir.
She's complaining.
She's not complaining that you overcharged her. She knows that for the amount of work she had done in her house, she was getting a bargain. She knows that. Her problem is the bargain turned out to be not such a bargain because she wasn't happy with some of the trim work that was done. For that, you don't sue. Goodbye.
15-year-old student Wandalise Berrios and her mother, social worker Maria Berrios, are suing Wandalise's boyfriend, 18-year-old Eric Rivera, and his mother, business owner Miriam Rivera. Maria says Miriam ran her off the road and vandalized her car.
Miss Berrios, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. And is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
You sit down. Miss Berrios, it's your claim that Mrs. Rivera vandalized your car with you in it. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Miss Rivera says that she was angry, but she did not, in fact, damage your car at all. Now, what I gather is that your daughter was dating her son. Correct? These two.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And it's your claim that Mrs. Rivera didn't like the idea of her son dating your daughter. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't happy with this relationship?
Correct.
So why don't you tell me what happened on the day that your car was allegedly vandalized?
On July 3rd, her son called my daughter, and they wanted to meet us in the fireworks.
Okay, so it was July 4th weekend, there were fireworks.
On the 3rd,
and
yes.
Did he come to your house or did you pick him up?
And we'd meet him in the fireworks in Altamont.
Is that right?
Yes.
You met where at a park or something where they were having fireworks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You watched the fireworks, and then you were ready to go home?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Good. Now tell me what happened.
Okay, when we dropped him off in his house, and the defendant, she drove in front of my car, and she started yelling, threatening, and she tried to break my window, and her son came up and went right there in front of us.
Just a second. She's in her car, you're in your car?
Correct.
Did she get out of her car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get out of your car?
No, Your Honor.
You stayed in your car, but she pulled up in front of you, cut you off?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And got out of her car. What about her son? Did he get out of the car?
We dropped him already. He was in his house.
Okay, so he came out of the house.
He ran out of the house, and he stepped between the defendant and I, right there by the window, because she tried to break the window with her
elbow. And you're sitting in the driver's seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what did she do?
And I did not respond to her request because the prior incident that I had with her, that she assaulted me. So I did not respond to her request. And
she wanted you to get out of the car?
Yes, that way she could fight me. So I did not get out of the car. And I told my daughter, let's leave here, because prior to that, she grabbed since I don't open the window, she grabbed my windshield wiper. She smashed it because she was really mad and broke it. And then with her both fists, she was really pissed and dent my car. So at that time, I told my daughter, let's get out of here, let's report it. I went on reverse, I left the scene. She continued following me to my house. That's what I found out. I went to the police report, and I reported. And I put an injunction on Miss Rivera.
You have photographs of the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? Are you two young people still dating each other or not?
Yes.
So I assume you don't want to be here?
No.
You don't want to be here?
No.
You don't want to be here. Is that right?
No.
Okay. Okay. Ready to hear you.
Well, the incident of actually the morning of the 4th of July happened all because my son and his girlfriend, Diana, was attending my child who's mentally handicapped and my daughter, which is 11 years old. This lady had the audacity to go out there and pick him up, left my two children alone with another 17-year-old child when he and her were supposed to watch my children, where my son walked away and got lost in the park where the fireworks were. And it was almost 2 in the morning by the time I was able to pick up my children from the park in the traffic. And when I got home, she was just dropping him off without no permission of mine, no knowledge where my son was. And I knew he was with her because his girlfriend, Diana,
That's not Diana.
No, that's not Diana.
He has 2 girlfriends.
Yes. And it might be 3, but right now 2. Anyway, when I got home, yes, I was very furious. Capable of, even if she would have got out of the car, I would have smacked her really good, because how a mother could leave a child who is mentally handicapped.
But just slap him.
Well, I did that.
Just slap him. What are you slapping her for?
Because she's the adult. She should have left him where he was.
Just a second. You're not claiming she picked him up at your house.
No, she went behind my back as a parent and picked him up in the park.
How do you know that? That she went behind your back? How is she supposed to read your mind about what arrangements you had with your son?
Because she knew.
How does she know?
Because he told her.
Oh, baloney. But you're assuming that.
True.
You're assuming that.
True.
How tall are you?
6 foot.
6 feet. Healthy, right?
As far as I know.
How old are you?
18.
And an adult. And if he's 17, he was still 6 feet tall and very healthy.
Yes.
Right? Are you suggesting to me, Miss Rivera, that your son went to Miss Berrios and said, I'm supposed to be minding my 2 siblings, but I'm going to blow them off and leave them here by themselves. So could you please give me a ride home? Is that what you think he said to her? That's what you're assuming. Because you want to be mad at somebody instead of being mad at him, you're mad at her. What are you mad at her for?
Because it's not the first incident that this happens.
Put the blame where it's supposed to be. By the way, where were you July 3rd?
I was at my house.
Why weren't you taking care of your children?
Because he was old enough to do it. And he wanted to go to Red Hot and Bloom.
He was old enough to do it because you thought he was responsible enough
Correct.
to do it. Really, he wasn't.
Well, I learned my lesson in that part.
So that was your error in judgment. You don't take that out on her car.
I did not touch her car, ma'am.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. There is no question in my mind that you broke the windshield wipers off her car and smashed down with your fist on her car, causing a dent. Absolutely no question in my mind. And I'm not going to put these 2 young people in a position of having to testify because it seems unfair to have to do that. I don't know if this is the girlfriend you want to be with or one of your other 2. That's your business. By the way, he probably does have other girlfriends. You understand that?
Yes.
Let me see the estimates of the damage to the car. Do you work?
Yes. No, ma'am.
What do you do?
I'm a student.
I have 3 estimates, and the cheapest estimate to do the work is $1,321.89. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You know that they're still dating?
Yes.
You resigned yourself to that?
Actually, as long as he lives under my roof and I pay for his school, he has to abide by my laws.
Which is?
They want to see themselves, they could see themselves out of her house. I don't want him in her house because they're in illegal activities. And if he's in her house and there is a bus in her house and my son is put in jail for something that he haven't done, I'm going to hold her responsible.
Why don't you hold him responsible? He's 18 years old. He's 6 feet 1. You think that she can keep him out of her house?
Yes, she don't have to open the door.
Miss Rivera, you rely on him a lot?
Yes, I do.
I assume that you did rely on him a lot.
Yes, I'm a single parent. I raised him by myself.
You got to corral him. If you can't do it, don't expect other people to do it. If he doesn't follow your directions, and what you're saying is as long as he's living under my roof, breathing the air that I pay for, turning on the electricity that I pay for, eating the food that I pay for, then go out, get yourself a job, live on your own. You can do whatever you want to do.
That's right.
Your problem is that he is a help to you in the house, taking care of your 13-year-old son.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,321.89.
That's case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of King versus Collier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss King, according to what I've read, the defendant was your former boyfriend. First, you say about a little more than a year ago, he had an accident with your car, which you paid for, which he said he would take care of. Then you claim to have expended a certain amount of money for remodeling of a condo that he had purchased, also with the agreement that he would pay you back. When you broke up, somehow you got him to sign a promissory note for all this money, or I think $3,200. Mr. Collier says the following. He said that you caused the accident to the car yourself, that he never borrowed any money from you, that the remodeling that you did to the condo, which had belonged to his uncle, was your own choice. The only reason he says that he signed this promissory note was that you were holding some money of his that you had gotten your hands on. You told me you wouldn't give him the money unless he signed the note, so he signed the note under duress. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was this accident with the car?
It was back in July of 2001.
And tell me about the accident with the car.
We were leaving a parking garage in Ybor City, and we were looking for the ticket that you give the attendant whenever you leave, and we couldn't find it, and we had pulled in already, so he went to back up, and as he backed up, he tore the whole bumper off the front of the car.
So it's the bumper that you're talking about?
Correct.
You remember that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember it that way, though.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay. So do you have insurance?
Yes.
So did the insurance cover the damage?
No, my deductible was $500, and it only cost $335.
Okay. Did you agree to pay that?
I never agreed to pay that, Your Honor.
So give me your version of the events. You're driving, the bumper comes off the car. How did the bumper come off the car?
I actually wasn't driving. We had gone to the
You just told me you were driving.
Oh, I was in the driver's seat. We had just backed out of the parking garage spot that I was in, that she had parked in.
Yeah.
And the angle that I pulled back, that, having no idea how she had left the wheel cocked, it caught on the edge of the wall and it ripped her bumper off.
The wall didn't move, sir. The car moved.
I agree, Your Honor.
Good. Okay. So that's $335. Did you ever say that you would pay to have that bumper repaired?
No, Your Honor. The reason I agreed or told her I wouldn't pay her back for that is the fact
Would
that...
or would not?
Would not. Is because she was drunk. She was drunk to drive, asked me to drive, handed me the keys, and that's the only reason I was driving. I was trying to do her a favor.
Is it true that you gave him the keys to the car because you had been drinking?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Don't drink. What's next?
I had loaned him, actually first he started living with me and he agreed that he would pay a third of the rent and a third of the utility bills.
For how many months?
Just for 1 month.
And what's the rent?
It was $800 and we divided it and he would have paid $266 for the rent and it was $74 for a third of the utility bills. And he also borrowed money to pay his car payments and he borrowed money to pay his cell phone bills.
What was his car payment?
I don't have that written down exactly.
$158.73, Your Honor.
And I paid it quite a few times. And I probably have paid it more times than I had even...
I can't keep track of that, but what kind of a way is that to have a loan, madam?
Because I was dating him and that's things that you do.
And then finally, we have the stuff for the apartment. Let's hear about the stuff for the apartment.
It was for a condo that his uncle owned, and we had agreed that he would move in. I was still living with my roommate, so I couldn't move out at the time. And I said that we agreed that whenever time came that my lease would be up, that I would buy the place from his uncle, and that's why I would do the remodeling, and that he would also pay for that.
That you would buy the place from his uncle?
Mm-hmm.
You?
Yes, later.
You, not the two of you, you would buy the place for his uncle, so you were going to remodel it for when you bought it?
Correct.
Had you discussed that with his uncle?
No.
Just with him?
Just with him.
Well, what made you think his uncle wanted to sell it?
He discussed him buying it from his uncle.
He owner leased it to me, Your Honor. So he was selling it to me.
And you discussed selling it to her?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, yes.
And that's why she decided to remodel it. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
And then you decided not to sell it to her. Is that right?
No, she left, Your Honor.
Or she left. Whatever. Listen, I'm telling you this, Miss King. I'm unimpressed with all of these loans that you claim. Without a promissory note, the one that you say you have,
yes, I do, Your
you
Honor.
wouldn't get any money. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you remodel this place in anticipation of you purchasing it, so you were really remodeling it for yourself, there was no loan to him of that money. You remodeled it because you were going to live there. That was your foolishness. You don't remodel a place until the title of it is in your name.
Correct.
You want to do it fast? You do it fast, that's your problem. So now I'm going to take a look at the promissory note. Okay, so I have a promissory note for $3,200, sir, that you signed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, let me hear the circumstances surrounding you signing this promissory note.
She left on the 4th, and when she left, she had some cash in my...
4th of?
March. When she did so, she didn't realize, I think, that she had some cash with her that I needed for my mortgage payment due on the 7th.
Mortgage for what?
To my uncle.
You mean your rent?
Well, he's taking it off the principal, so he's holding a note for me. But the mortgage payment was due on the 7th, and on the 4th, she left with my cash. I couldn't raise the $350.
How did she get your cash?
I was having her hold it for me. I think we were going to deposit
Could
it in
you
the bank.
speak slowly, sir? I can't follow
sorry.
you. I'm old.
Yes, Your Honor. She had my cash with her because she was holding it for me so that I would not spend it.
How much cash was she holding?
$350.
Okay, go ahead.
And on the 8th, a day after my mortgage was late, she agreed to go ahead and give me the cash, but only if I would sign the promissory note. Since I know their means of getting the cash that quickly, I went ahead and signed the note.
Did you have his money?
Yes, Your Honor. He had been staying at my place and left it.
And so you took the money and said you want your money back? Is that right?
Well, it was in my...
No, you want your money back? You're going to sign this note?
Correct, Your Honor.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
That's duress. You can't do that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
She wants...
Sherry King says her ex-boyfriend, Keith Collier, owes for damage to her car and unpaid loans. Keith says he owes her nothing.
As I said to you before, Miss King, but for the promissory note, I would find that there was never a loan made. With regard to the automobile, you were drunk, which is the reason he drove. He's backing out of a spot, not purposefully.
He wasn't backing out of a spot. He was backing out of the actual toll booth that he had pulled into. I did not pull into there, Your Honor.
Whatever it was. But for the fact that the two of you had broken up, there's not a question in my mind that we would not be here over this bumper damage to the car. When you drive a car, drive someplace, you go out, you're not supposed to get drunk so you can't drive at home. Okay? I don't know how much he had been drinking that evening, whether he had been drinking more than you or less than you. I assume that he had been drinking some too, which means that you're both stupid. Then we come to the bills. Bills that you say, well, he said he would pay me some rent, and then I paid for his car payment. I paid a lot of times I paid his car payment more than once. I'm not sure about how many times. I don't get involved with that. This is a court. You're supposed to say, on September 1st, 1999, I paid a car payment. On September 16th, the year 2000, I made a car payment for him. I have that all written down here. This is his car payment. He asked me to please advance it, and if I would, he would pay me back in a month. That's not what this is all about. This is about a boyfriend and girlfriend situation where you give him money. I don't know whether he ever gave you money.
No, Your Honor.
Probably not. Well, that means that you're not too... Right? The only thing that you thought that you did that was clever was having him do the promissory note for all this money that you thought he owed you. The only problem is you forced him to sign it. You were withholding his property. And if you withheld his property and said, unless you sign this note, I'm not going to give you the property, that is duress. So you get zippo, nada, nothing. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just hopefully no one will ever have to deal with him the way I had to deal with him.
I'm glad to see that justice was served.
Because he's a loser and he will scam anyone out of anything.
I feel bad that Ms. King feels like she was ripped off and misled by me.
Every week he would say that he would pay me the money and then he would say, oh, I spent it on this or I spent it on that, and never came through with it.
I'm sorry that I had to come to a court battle. She could have settled it outside very easily.
Don't give money to anyone unless you have anything.
Woman, stay away.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pettigrew, Ray versus Alexander. Step forward, please.
Daycare provider Denise Ray and her children, 13-year-old Jaquan Pettigrew and 10-year-old Ebony Pettigrew, are suing former friend, 55-year-old school teacher William Alexander, for the return of two $1,000 savings bonds.
Miss Ray, according to your complaint, you've known the defendant for most of your life. Is that right?
Yeah.
He's been sort of a mentor to you and to your family. According to him, he even raised one of your children. Is that right?
No, not necessarily.
Well, what do you mean not necessarily? You had 3 children?
Yes, I did.
An older boy?
Yes.
Did the oldest boy live with you continuously until he reached the age of 18?
No.
Who did he live with?
The defendant.
Right. Well, that's what I said.
Okay.
According to you, there came a time several years ago when you came into some money as a result of a claim because of the earthquake in California. You had a couple of $1,000, and you wanted to put aside some of that money for your children.
Yeah.
So you asked the defendant to get savings bonds for your 3 children.
Yes.
How much money did you give him to get the savings bonds?
$1,500.
$1,500. So you wanted a $500 savings bond for each of your 3 children.
Yes.
Now, one of the children, the oldest child, whose name is?
Edward.
Edward. Did Edward get his bond?
He's here, yes.
Edward?
Yeah.
Did you get your bond?
Yeah.
From Mr. Alexander?
Yeah.
That leaves 2 $500 bonds left.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
That Mr. Alexander is holding for your children. And you want?
The bond's double value, Your Honor, to $1,000.
But when did you give him the money?
In 94.
Okay.
August 8th. Well, approximately August 8th, 1994.
Where are the bonds, Mr. Alexander?
I have them here, and they were
May I
purchased.
see them, please?
Yes.
Sir.
Okay. And they were purchased August 11th, 1994.
3 days off.
Well, they are $1,000 bonds.
Yes.
In the names of the children or Mr. Alexander, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Tell me why you want these bonds now. Tell me why you want to hold them for your children.
Because I want no more dealings with Mr. William Alexander. Of course, I know some statements were made in his statement regarding my lifestyle at the time. I'm not in denial anymore. Yes, I had a substance abuse history. But the thing about it, what led up to my substance abuse history was kept hidden in the dark for years.
Was that his fear? And was that your fear? Is that why you gave him the money to buy the bonds for the children? Rather than buying them yourself?
No, at the time that we were to purchase the bonds, I didn't have Edward's social security number. The day that we were at the bank purchasing the bonds, I filled out all the original paperwork with my name as payee for these children until they turned 18 for these bonds. Mr. Alexander asked me to let him hold the money and the paperwork until that following Monday. I says, okay, I'll trust you. Come that following week, when I asked Mr. Alexander for the bonds or my money, he told me he wasn't giving them to me.
I assume that you let him hold these bonds all of these years because you trusted him.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You trusted him, and he certainly did everything that he could to live up to that trust because here are the bonds. He hasn't done anything with them. Here they are.
Okay, but, Your Honor, it's more to the story than... I don't want no more dealings with Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander is...
I don't want any more dealings with Mr. Alexander. Do you have a problem with her holding the bonds for the children?
No, I don't have a problem at all.
Fine. Good.
Okay.
Because she really can't cash them.
No.
Because they are for either of the children or you.
Exactly.
So if she went in to cash the bonds, she could not cash them. These bonds are going to have to sit there until the children reach their majority.
I gave the bonds to her last year when she asked.
And she became angry because I wouldn't sign them over. I said, if you want the bonds, you may keep the bonds until the children are 18. It's their money.
Right. No.
No what?
No, he did not.
Okay, well, no, just so we don't have a problem anymore.
I want my bonds changed over to their godmother.
No, you can't have that. Period. I'm not doing that. You can hold your children's bonds because that's what you want to do. If you feel as if you have a safe place in your home or if you have a bank vault, you can take the bonds and put them there and wait for your children to reach their majority, and then you give them the bonds, and at that time they should be even worth more than $1,000.
Exactly.
Because it's a while. How old are you?
10.
And you?
13. 13.
Well, got a way to go. These are going to be worth a lot more than $1,000.
But I paid for those bonds.
So what? Well, what do you want me to do?
I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want nothing.
You don't have anything to do with it.
But his name is on them.
You're absolutely right, which means that you cannot cash them. The only thing that means is you cannot cash them. These are for the children. This is what you intended it for. You intended these bonds for the children.
But I didn't intend for his name to be on them, Your Honor.
Well, then don't look at them. Don't look at them. Put them away. And when your children reach the age of 18, you give each of your children a bond. One of the children should have about $2,000.
They don't need his assistance for anything, right?
No, to do these?
I just
Absolutely
don't want to live my
not.
children's life, period.
Listen to me. All this says is Ebony or William. Means either one of them can sign these bonds, but Ebony can't do it until she's 18.
Okay.
Yes.
And Jawan can't do it until he's 18. Other than that, these are your children's bonds. Perfect. We've just resolved this case. Give her the bonds.
Whatever.
Mr. Alexander, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You don't have control of that.
Parties are excused. Yeah, it's case number 352 on the calendar in the matter of Gray versus Lewis. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
All right, this is like a little soap opera here. I really think I'm going to start with you, Miss Lewis, and get some background information. The lawsuit involves your claim, Miss Gray, that the defendant, who is your husband's niece, had you falsely arrested for stalking. You want to be compensated for that false arrest and for all the money that you spent, lawyer's fees, time, and emotional distress. From what I gather, and I'm trying to piece together the information that you put in your complaint, you saw the plaintiff getting into another man's car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you see this?
In a county near my grandmother's house at a gas station.
Tell me what you either saw or thought you saw.
Okay, we were the last ones at the gas station, and it's like a rural gas station in a little county, and we were pumping gas. The lights were out because we were the last ones there. They were closing up. We saw the defendant coming.
No, plaintiff. She's the plaintiff today.
I'm sorry. The plaintiff riding in her car, and she didn't see us at first. We were just standing there pumping gas, and when she saw us, she like backed out, and when she was about to leave the parking lot, a car rolled up with a male in it, and they exchanged a few words, and they left together following each other. So we were en route to our house.
Who were you traveling with?
My mother, my sister, and my little brother. And we saw her pass in the other direction. She was in the passenger side of the guy's car. So my mom got upset, and she turned the car around and went back to my grandmother's house where my uncle was.
Your uncle, who was her husband?
Yes, ma'am. And my mom...
Were they living together at the time? Everything was happy?
No.
So they were separated?
No, not legally. She comes and goes when she wants to.
But they were not living together full-time as man and wife?
No.
Okay. So you and your mom go back to your grandmother's house where your uncle is.
Yes.
Her husband.
Yes.
Estranged husband. And you tell him what you saw.
Well, my mother got out the car and told what she saw.
And then what happened?
He came out because he had the baby because she said she was too ill to watch the baby and take care of the baby. And he left the baby with my grandmother, got in his car, and sped down the road.
And then what happened?
And he called us later that night and told us what had happened when he saw her getting out of the guy's car. And
what happened when he saw you?
First, he accused me of cheating. He shoved me going towards the friend that I was with. Then he approached him and started calling me all sorts of names, and he was about to fight him, so I had to stand in front of him so he wouldn't hit my friend.
When were you arrested?
They sent me in a mail a paper saying if I do not turn myself in, that they will arrest me, come and arrest me at my home.
What do you claim she did to you that caused you to file the police report?
Okay, after she had a confrontation with my uncle called me and told me what happened. The next morning, Miss Gray called me at my home. I didn't tell my uncle anything my mom told her. I didn't even speak to my uncle when he called that night. So she called me the next day. We had been friends. I was the only one in my family willing to accept her and her child into my family. Everyone else didn't want to accept her. So I wasn't mad that she was cheating on my uncle because I really don't get in their business. She called me. She threatened me. She said that she was going to kill me, my daughter, and the rest of my family because we're a bunch of bees and everything. And I was like, Joy, you're crazy. Stop calling my house. I hung up with her. She called back and proceeded to curse me out. And I'm like, you know what? You're making threats, and I'm tired of you making threats.
So I was like, you better be careful what you say. And she was like, I'm going to kill you, and she hung up the phone. I called my uncle right then immediately because she has a medical condition that affects her hormones, and they say that it affects her mind sometimes when she doesn't take her medicine. So I called my uncle to make him aware of what his wife was doing, and he said, don't worry about her, I'll take care of her because she needs her medicine. And I'm like, okay, I didn't pay her any mind. So the next morning, after she made the phone call, I come out my door into my parking lot, and I put my daughter in my car. She's across the parking lot, in her car, waiting in her car, looking at me, and I knew it was her because she has personalized license plates. So I just got in my car, and I proceeded out my parking lot. She followed me 10 miles up the road to my mom's house, and she proceeded down the road as I turned into my mom's driveway. And I went in the house and told my mom about the situation, and she said, don't worry about it, just go to work. Later that night, I hear a loud bang on my door. I live by myself with my daughter. And I get up, my daughter's crying because she woke up because of the noise. And I get up, look out my window, and I don't see anything. I open my door, and then I see her across the parking lot with her lights on, and then she speeds out the parking lot. So that night, in fear of not knowing what she's going to do because she has to take medicine because she has a chemical imbalance with her hormones and everything. And so I left and went down to the magistrate office and filed a police report. And I said, and when I originally went there, I just wanted a protective order. I didn't want her anywhere around me. He said, in order to get a protective order, I must file charges. So he filed charges for stalking.
Do you have the police report?
No, I don't have the police report, but I have when we went to court and what happened at court and everything.
Okay. Well, just hold on to that for a second. So you were notified in the mail that you had to turn yourself in?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you given a trial date?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the trial date? You were arraigned first?
Yes, ma'am, on the 25th.
Okay, but you were allowed to go home?
Yes, ma'am.
So on the 25th of April, you were arraigned. Did you make another appearance in court after the 25th? When?
It was later on that May 26th, I believe.
Was that your last court appearance?
Yes, ma'am.
So on May 26th, the case was resolved?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a lawyer?
Yeah, a court-appointed lawyer.
They're still lawyers?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And you discussed the case with the lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what happened in court, Miss Gray?
Yes, ma'am. He came up and
Who's he?
My lawyer and the district attorney, they went up and they said that both parties have agreed not to come in contact with one another. And then I didn't have to come to any court dates. I called and they said the case was dismissed. Well, it will be dismissed on June 3rd.
So the case is not dismissed yet?
That's right. As long as we stay away from each other.
No,
yes, ma'am.
that's
not what it says.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Grace says her niece, Vivica Lewis, had her falsely arrested for stalking. Vivica says after she caught her aunt cheating with another man, Kimberly threatened to kill her.
Can I see the piece of paper that you have, please?
Your Honor, I would like to point out that I made a complaint against them on the 24th of March, and how convenient her stalking was to mine, because they did follow me to my home, because I got my friend to take me home. They drove up behind me, and they pulled in the driveway. But as we were traveling to my home, they were honking the horn, flashing their lights, and they were on our bumper. So when I got to my home, they came up and pulled behind me. They pulled out, and they was at my driveway, and she yelled out she was gonna beat my A, and that I got you now, B. And then she was saying something else to my friend, and I walked in my house to get my dad. And by the time I got him out the house, they were gone. And my police report was filed on the 24th, and I called the police at 9:33 in the morning. So it was no way in the world that I could call her. I have the police
Ms.
report.
Gray, I want you to pay careful attention to
Yes, ma'am.
On the 26th of May, according to these papers, you entered a plea of nolo contendere, which means you pled no contest to the charges.
Ma'am.
And you were ordered by the court to pay costs.
Yes, ma'am.
As a result of your plea of no contest, and the protective order that was issued in favor of the defendant. And I am certain that your lawyer explained to you that a plea of nolo contendere, no contest, is the same as a plea of guilty.
Ma'am.
Did your lawyer explain that
No,
to you?
ma'am, we
Well,
never
he should
discussed.
have.
We never discussed pleading guilty or not guilty. Because I told him at the trial, I was like, I'm not pleading guilty for something that I didn't do. He said, ma'am, you're not pleading guilty because you're coming into agreement that you're not going to mess with the defendant anymore. I was like, sir, I did not do this. And they should have it on court record that I said it to him because I said it out loud in court.
All I can tell you is what I read in the certificate of disposition of the case. And your case is what we call adjourned in contemplation of dismissal, which means it's not dismissed yet. But if you, as I said, stay away from her, then the case will be dismissed and the order of protection lifted. So you have no civil claim against her, Miss Gray.
Ma'am,
you have no civil
I
case
didn't know.
against her
I did not know.
as long as you pled what is equivalent to a guilty plea, which is a plea of no contest.
Okay.
You should have gone to trial, maybe, and pled not guilty and continued to go to trial. Maybe a case would have been dismissed. If it was dismissed, then you might have a civil suit against her, but you didn't. You pled no contest. Is this your husband?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is a friend that I was with on the time that she said that I was stalking her, and and he was there.
Are you separated from your husband now?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your child?
He's with me. I got full custody of my son.
That's not true either.
Yes, ma'am.
They haven't even filed for separation papers. He kicked her out because she doesn't want to clean, cook, or nothing. And she took the baby with her.
That's not usually a reason.
No, because
I'd be out on the street.
She takes all the money out the bank. He had a down payment, and that's why they just back and forth.
Where's the child?
With me.
With her, living with her, but they haven't been to court for custody or anything.
Okay. Does your husband see the child?
No, ma'am. He comes like once in a blue moon, so he does not come see him. He does not pay anything for him.
That's a lie. He has an order to pay her $200 a month for the child.
I didn't even get this. I'm sorry. This is new.
This is what you are.
That's
what you have said. She's had contact with me. I'm just going off what she said to me.
Then they have to have been to court.
Listen
to me.
Or not.
Well, I'm telling you, if he has a child support order of $200 a month, which is what you're telling me, then they have to have been to court, and your brother has an order to pay support, and I assume visitation, which he certainly should avail himself of.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Good. Stay away from her.
I haven't been near her.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It went fairly, and she's crazy. She needs some treatment.
I don't understand how would she lie and say all these things and they weren't true.
We don't really want to have anything to do. She's trying to force herself upon us.
I have had problems with them ever since I got with my husband.
We don't want to have anything to do with her because she lies so bad.
She had no right to follow me. I wasn't with my husband. He had a girlfriend.
She's a liar. I just hate the fact that she lies.
Don't get mixed up with crazy family.
I just wasn't going to have it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Torres. Step forward, please.
23-year-old air traffic controller Christine Brown is suing her former friend, 23-year-old independent contractor Jason Torres, for an unpaid loan to get his car out of the shop.
Miss Brown, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of some $434.
Yes, Your Honor.
That loan, you say, was made so that he could get his car out of the repair shop. The defendant acknowledges that you gave him $434. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And says it was a gift that you insisted upon giving him. That's your defense?
Yes.
Okay. How do you know each other, Miss Brown?
We met about 4 years ago.
You were
just
friends?
Friends. And I trusted him, so on March 20th, when we were talking on the phone, he told me that he needed $400 to get his car out of the shop. And I told him the only way I would give him $400 was if he would pay me back that weekend, because I didn't get paid for another week and a half, and I only had $400 in my account. So he promised me that he would pay me back by Sunday, the whole $400.
What's the $34 for?
That's just a service charge for the Western Union.
Where was he living and where were you living?
He was living in North Hollywood, ma'am, and I was living on base in Lemoore, California.
You are in the armed forces?
Navy, yes, ma'am.
And he was supposed to pay you back on Sunday. Were you supposed to see him on that Sunday?
I was actually supposed to see him on Friday. We talked on the phone Thursday after I wired him the money. He told me he got it, and he told me that we were going to go out on Friday night, and he would have half of the money for me. So I called him Friday night, and he never answered his cell phone. He was never home. And I tried calling him Saturday. I went to his house. His family said he wasn't there. And Sunday came around. I went to his house again. I called him continuously on his cell phone. He never answered it, and he was never on his home. So I went back to the base, and I never heard from him again.
Mr. Torres, you tell me how this money was transferred to you, sir.
She wired me the money through Western Union.
How did she know how much money you needed?
Because I had told her when we were at dinner a
So
few
you were
nights
out at dinner.
before.
When?
Yes. I don't remember what night it was, but we had spoken on the phone. She came down and told me she wanted to see me. She picked me up and we went to dinner.
And tell me about how the conversation came about this money that you needed for the car.
Well, she asked me where my car was, and I had explained to her that I had gotten in a car accident and that I would be getting my car out of impound. Not impound, out of the shop as soon as I had the rest of the amount, because my deductible was about $1,000, and I only had about $600 of that.
Okay, and what did she say to you?
She offered me the money.
What did she say?
She said, I can give you the money.
And what did you say?
I said, thank you, but no thank you. And then she insisted that
what did she say?
She said, I insist that you take the money. I would like to help.
Okay, and you said?
I said, no.
And she said?
Later on, towards the end of the dinner, she brought it up again and said that I should swallow my pride and not be too ashamed to accept help from a friend.
Okay, and you said?
And I thought about it, and I said, okay.
All right, so she went back, she drew out the money, and she wired you the money.
Yes.
Now, did you have an appointment to meet with her that Friday evening?
No, I didn't.
Did you have any contact with her again at all?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I had tried to get a hold of her.
How?
Calling her.
When did you try to call her?
I tried calling her after I had received the money.
And you couldn't get her?
No, I couldn't.
Well, where did you try to call her, at the base?
I tried calling her at home.
And did you get her an answering machine?
No, I did not.
How many times did you call her?
I tried calling 3 times that evening.
You mean to say thank you for the money?
Yes.
And you couldn't reach her?
No, I couldn't.
And when did you try again to reach her?
I tried the following day.
After March 21st, when did you contact her?
I hadn't tried for about another week or so.
Yeah?
And I tried again, and once again, I could not reach her.
And then you just stopped calling?
Yeah.
Why?
I hadn't heard from her, and so I figured I'd let her call me.
But she was the one who sent you $400.
Yes, she was.
So you mean after you got the money, you never spoke to her?
No, I didn't. I tried to get a hold of her to speak to her, but I was unable to.
You had her home address?
Yes, her home address? No, I did not.
Know how to contact her at home?
Just through that telephone number.
You don't have her address? You don't know what the base that she stays on?
I knew it was somewhere up in the morning. It was the first time I had spoken to her in quite some time. She called me up to ask if I'd like to do something. She came down, picked me up, and we got into this conversation. And that's how this came to be.
Ma'am, that is true. After a long time, I did call him to see if he wanted to hang out, and that was Tuesday night. Wednesday night was when we talked on the phone. He never mentioned anything at dinner about anything about his car needing $400. It was on the phone that we discussed it. And I told him that I needed it by Sunday, and we did make plans on Friday night to go out.
No, we didn't.
He is lying about that.
No, I'm not.
Now, Mr. Torres, how long were you saving? How much longer did you think you would have to save up in order to get your car out of impound?
Probably another week or two. Not impound, repair shop.
Repair shop. So you had the $600 already?
Yes.
And you needed just another week or so to put together the other $400?
Yes. It's because I was using my car for work at the time.
Okay.
And so I wasn't able
So
to
I
make
would
money.
assume that another week or so went by and you had the additional $400. Is that
Yes.
right? So why didn't you wire her the money back?
I didn't have an address to wire to her. I tried to get a hold of her on the telephone, and I could not.
Did you try to get her on the phone, say a week or so later, to tell her that you now had the money together?
Yes, I did.
So that you planned on paying her back?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $434. I thought we'd get there. Thank you.
Yeah, parties are excused. You may step out. 442 on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sharp versus Brennan. Step forward, please.
Food server Doris Sharp is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 39-year-old electrician John Brennan, for breaking a lease. John says Doris ran him out.
Ms. Sharp, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a long-term relationship. You lived together for many years. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Off and on.
And recently you signed a lease on a new apartment. You both signed on the apartment. It was a year lease. The defendant left after a couple of months, and you want him to pay for his half of the lease for the remainder of the lease. The defendant says that it was either leaving or killing each other. Aside from that, he left you with everything that you had acquired during the course of this long relationship. When did you sign a lease on this apartment?
This is the third year we had signed.
And what was the rent on the apartment?
$540 a month.
And when did he leave?
In June.
Had you been having difficulty before he left?
Well, he couldn't get out. He was on house arrest, so he couldn't go out and do anything. So as soon as he got off of house arrest, which was in June, I said, you know, ever since you're off of house arrest, I never see you anymore. And he says, honey, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I never seen no money since then.
I asked you before he moved out in June. Had you been having trouble?
No.
What was he on house arrest for?
Violation of probation.
What kind of probation?
It was a drug-related charge.
Had he spent any time in jail?
Yes, he did.
How long, sir?
I did 7 months at a work release.
Tell me why you claim you left, Mr. Brennan.
Well, the relationship was just, it was getting over. It was over. And there was a point of just getting out before a bad situation got worse. I mean, it was over. And one of us had to go, so...
So why did you sign this lease in June?
I don't think the lease was signed in June.
It's right here. Let me see, Bert. It's right there. Thank you.
I thought it was in April. But
it was in April. You are correct, sir. All right, how large an apartment is it?
it's a one-bedroom, it's a little less than 800 square foot.
Okay, do you work, Ms. Sharp?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm the server at Ryan's Steakhouse.
And how much do you earn a year?
$15,000 a year.
Do you have family in the area where you live?
I have my daughter.
What do you plan to do when this lease is up?
Well, Your Honor, I wouldn't have been in a big bind, but when I came home, I spent $1,000 on my vacation, and he knew it. I've always went and seen my parents. It was my money I worked hard for, and I planned on paying it off. But then he's gone, and I'm missing $270 plus half the electric. And
I asked you a question, Ms. Sharp.
Okay.
What do you plan to do after your lease?
Try to look for a smaller apartment.
How can you find a smaller apartment? Do you have a one-bedroom apartment?
They have them. They have smaller bedrooms where you can get off the lake. It's cheaper.
How much cheaper?
$100.
Okay. So you could move into an apartment that would cost you $100 less a month that you plan looking into, right?
Yes.
But you plan on staying there.
Yes, I'm staying there right now because it's too hard for me to move right now.
Listen, so you have to live someplace, Miss Sharp.
Yes, that's why I'm there.
Of course, you have to live someplace. Now, if you said to me that you took a two-bedroom apartment because you needed lots of room, I would say to you, well, it's possible that you could look for a roommate, to help you with your expenses. You want to say something?
Yes, I do.
Who are you?
I'm her daughter.
Well, you step up. I'm going
Thank
to hear
you,
you
Your
briefly.
Honor.
It better be relevant.
It will be. She wants to move to a lesser apartment. She can afford $400 a month. The smaller apartments at Carlton Arms, Your Honor,
She
are
just told me.
efficiencies. She's nervous, and that's all. They're just not available, and it would cost her more to move, Your Honor. I need a $1,000 deposit someplace. I can't come up with that kind of money right
Sit
now.
down.
Yes, ma'am.
He's got the key to the apartment, too. He can come and go when he wants.
Just to say, he's not coming and going anywhere. You can always change the locks on the apartment.
No, I already asked that. I asked if I could change the locks on the
Where's
apartment.
the key?
And they
it's in my
said...
jacket pocket.
He'll turn it over.
I will.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Just relax yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
I mean, these people
I
are
just
together
wanted to say
for
one more thing. That's
No,
all.
you don't have to say anything else.
Okay, yes.
I want to know, Miss Sharp, over the years that you were together, Mr. Brennan says that he and you together furnished your apartment. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor. It was so good. It cost $50. All 4 chairs you could rock on like a rocking chair. And
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a television set?
Yes, I do.
What kind of television set do you have?
I got a 13-inch in the kitchen and another one in the living room.
Okay. And you bought that when you were together?
Yes, but he bought the stereo, so he took the stereo, which was the same price as the TV.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Well, then what furniture and household items do you say that you paid for jointly with Miss Sharp?
Everything.
Well, let me hear. Give me an
Well, I mean, there was a full kitchen. I mean, you name it. I mean, just dishes, silverware, just everything that you would find in a house.
Okay.
You know?
So dishes, silverware,
I
everything
mean,
that
juicers, blenders, toaster ovens. I mean, everything that you have in a house. I only took my personal stuff and the stereo. That's all I took.
Okay. What about the living room furniture?
I didn't take any of it.
I'm asking you, did you buy it together?
Yes.
I went and got it while he was in jail for $25 at the Goodwill. The whole house is furnished with Goodwill furniture. Everything.
Is that right, sir?
I don't know where she got it.
Yes. The couch cost $25.
I don't, you know.
Have bedroom furniture.
We're going back
the bedroom furniture? I paid $70 for it from a friend. $70 for the whole thing.
Mr. Brennan, how much do you claim you spent over all the stuff that's in the house?
I wouldn't have an idea. To replace it, I don't know.
And the only thing that you took out of the house was the stereo?
It was mine, yes.
What do you mean, which was yours?
Well, I bought that, and we bought her a television, a 27-inch television that I left there.
So you bought that together? And you bought the stereo with joint money. So that's that's sort of an even swap.
Correct, yes.
Well, then I'm talking about the other stuff, Mr. Brennan. One of the things that you said that was appealing to me, quite frankly, is that you walked out of the house carrying your suitcase with your underwear in it, and you left her everything else in the house that you had accumulated over the 6 years that you were together. I just want some idea of what the value of that stuff was.
I can tell you the value. Probably everything, $200.
No, I don't believe that's true, Miss Sharp.
The chairs you rock in, you can
Miss
rock
Sharp,
away on
Miss
it.
Sharp, pay careful attention to me, madam. You have to buy sheets, you have to buy towels, you buy dishes, you buy
There's
silverware.
Goodwill.
You buy,
Buy everything at Goodwill. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm a Goodwill shopper.
Oh, good. Put your hand down, madam. I'm not interested in what you have to say.
Yes, Your Honor. I
Perfect. Mr. Brennan, you have to make some accommodation to Miss Sharp with regard to this lease that she's on, but she has to do whatever she can to sort of limit your responsibility. I don't believe two people should live together, especially if they're not married, when there's at least a possibility that there would be violence in the household should you remain together. Miss Sharp, you're going to have the luxury of living in a larger one-bedroom apartment for the next year at the same price as it would cost you to live in the smaller one-bedroom apartment that you say is not now available, but if it were available, you would move into. That means that Mr. Brennan is going to support this current apartment to the tune of $100 a month for the 12 months of the lease, or $1,200. Do you understand? Not the $3,240 that you're looking for, because you're going to stay there anyway, albeit perhaps in a smaller apartment. I'm not giving you any credit, Mr. Brennan, for the items that you left. First of all, there's not a counterclaim. You can't account for exactly how much money that was. Otherwise, in a living together situation, I would say, listen, you have bills, you have receipts for what you left. I will look at that. I'll cut it in half if you both contributed and deduct that from the $1,200.
I wasn't looking for that. I just wanted this to be over with.
Good. Now it's over with. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCall versus Wilhelm. Step forward, please.
71-year-old Bourbon McCall is suing his former friend, 32-year-old student Sandra Wilhelm, for unpaid loans and the cost of a car. Sandra says Bourbon's lawsuit is an attempt to keep her in his life.
Mr. McCall, it is your claim in this complaint that you were romantically involved with the defendant and made a series of loans to her, including a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Then she broke it off, and you want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
When and where did you meet, Mr. McCall?
I met Sandra at a local pub that we both frequented.
Okay. When?
Sometime in March, Your Honor.
And when did you make this first loan?
Well, the first thing that happened, I had bought a computer, and Sandra agreed to come over and download it for me. Then she'd had an accident, and she had picked up a DUI, and her car was wrecked. So I then called her and asked her if I could be of any help to her. She said, well, my mother's got a car, that 88 Crown Victoria. Her mother was asking $2,300 for the car. I gave Sandra $2,300. We went in. She gave us the title. We then proceeded to go down and get it plated and titled.
Did you expect Miss Wilhelm to pay you back the money?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you ever tell her that?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Shh, quiet. When did you tell her that?
I told her that before we bought the car. I said,
What did you say?
I said, if we buy a car, I'll help you get a car. But I said, I want title to that car. She said, well, how am I going to get plates and insurance and the rest of it? Why don't we just purchase a vehicle? You'll have the first lien on the vehicle so that I'm protected.
The truth of the matter is, you really are not terribly protected. All you are, if you have title to the car, is you're exposed in case she has an accident, in case she doesn't get insurance.
Well, she did that.
I know, but that's a problem. Miss Wilhelm, first of all, how old are you?
32.
How old are you, sir?
71.
Okay. Miss Wilhelm, this, whatever kind of relationship you had with the plaintiff was of relatively short duration. I read your answer very clearly, and your answer says that he clearly wanted more from the relationship than you were prepared to give him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can I see the title to the car, please?
Yes.
Who has the
have
title?
a certificate of title.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's a copy of the title.
And I'd like to see the certificate of title.
This is Exhibit B and C showing the registration and the application.
I just want the title to the car.
He has the title.
This is a copy. Who has the original?
I have the original at home. I just made a copy of it, Your Honor.
Well, that wasn't very smart, sir.
Well,
That wasn't very smart, because I read the defendant's answer very clearly. She says, Bervin's goal was to control me. When I didn't respond to his advances, he became increasingly hostile. Is that true?
That is correct.
It's not true.
Eventually, I told him that he could have the car back because it's not worth the harassment. That's what you wrote. Is that what you